Madness Podcast, the best of the underground. Make madness your ritual.
Hey, Ritual Madness Podcast. Hope you guys are doing well. Can you hear, Nate? Can you hear it all? Not yet? Nothing yet?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet? Can you hear yourself yet? No?
Nope.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all. Hold on. Wait. Here it goes. That one?
There we go.
All
Perfect.
right, there we go. Sweet. How about you? Sean, you can hear yourself?
I can hear.
All right. All right, make sure.
Tough, though.
There we go.
There we go.
Now I know where you're at. All right, welcome, folks. I hope you are enjoying yourself in this cold-ass weather here in the Twin Cities. We have just broke the cold-ass barrier here in the Twin Cities for weather-wise. We've been super spoiled through November. Into November, we've been super spoiled.
Super spoiled.
So
Nobody has anything to
into
complain
December.
about.
Right. Yeah, into December. You're absolutely right. I forget what month
Winter's
I'm in.
already shorter.
Right.
Although-
which is good, right?
Although the black metal guys, they should actually love this now that the temperature is dipped below freezing.
Right, absolutely. So if you're just tuning in, you're listening to Ritual Madness Podcast. Do me a favor, check out ritualmadnesspodcast.com. All kinds of multitudes of links over there to connect with us. Mr. Swordlord returns to the podcast. You can connect with us on iTunes, Stitcher, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Let me see here. Do me a favor, download the Listen to My Radio app. That's LISTN, the number 2, My Radio. And then in the search bar, put Ritual Madness Podcast. And Amazon, you shop Amazon. Click that link, bookmark it as your own. Every time you buy something from Amazon, it helps the podcast keep going here. If you're in a band or have friends that are in bands and want to submit your music, that's ritualmadnesspodcast@gmail. That's ritualmadnesspodcast@gmail. Want to do a quick plug here. December 17th is the next monthly madness at Lee's Liquor Lounge. We're doing monthly metal shows at Lee's Liquor Lounge. That's right. Country bar turned heavy metal bar once a month. And they've been pretty damn good. This last one was excellent. Lots of cool people showed up. Roughly around 100 people showed up, and it was great. Right after Thanksgiving, so everybody had a chance to drink their turkey away and and all that happiness. So this next one on the 17th is Glutton for Punishment, Face of Oblivion, who just released a CD last month. Invidiosis, just back from Mexico tour. And stuff like that. Towering Abomination from Milwaukee, Wisconsin is in town as well, and a band called Mutation from the Twin Cities. I'm very excited for this. December 17th, it is the day before my 44th birthday. So it's going to be a blast. I'm super stoked. $2 Jack and Cokes. PBR is now our tall boy sponsor and have been doing really cool fucking things. They brought down a bunch of swag to give away, a bunch of hats and shirts and pins and all kinds of cool stuff. And $3 PBR tall boys, $300 in tattoo giveaways from Lowbrow Saints Tattoo Collective. And I believe this may, I'm not positive, but this may be the last month that they're going to be doing that. I know we talked about, running it till the end of the year. And we are at the end of the year, so hopefully they want to keep going. But we'll see. I won't be too upset about it. I know they've given a lot of time and a lot of money away as far as giving away gift cards, and $300 worth of gift cards every fucking month is pretty damn kind of them. So
That's a big commitment.
yes, and that the cool thing about it is we all know that time at a tattoo shop is never cheap. It's always in the $100 range, just for the minimum. And when you sit down with these folks, they work with you. They'll outline it at first, and they'll do all the things that good tattoo shops should do. They've got 2 great artists there, Helena and Jason, very, very cool people. So we are here with Mr. Swordlord and Nathan Block, and dude. So you're going to keep the moniker Swordlord, right? Now that you're kind of stepping away from the music a little bit?
Well, it's funny actually that somebody had posted on my farewell message that I would always be Swordlord to them. So
right.
I appreciate it. Well, and the whole thing was, especially when you get a nickname from Don Decker,
right,
it sticks. It never goes away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure that I'll continue to be Swordlord. And actually, uh, that's sort of my name in the prog power community now too, which
right.
I've been a part of since 2004. So yeah, Don gave me a great nickname. It stuck, and I definitely will continue to wear it proudly in his honor.
Man. Absolutely.
So
I mean, we want to kind of get right to this, man. I mean, what made you decide to step away from the music stuff, man?
well, number one, I want everybody to know that, and we should probably back up here. Number
Sure.
one, thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely.
And number two, thank you for allowing me to, say a proper goodbye to everybody, at least as far as the promotions go. Obviously, I'll still be around town and seeing shows and promoting the scene, as I've been doing for some time now. But
Now, how many years? I mean, you kind of like we talked about this before about how you getting started with Don kind of helped you, mentored you, pulled you into it, and you guys worked on different shows. How long have you been promoting? I mean, how long were you going before you?
Well, actually, what day is it today? The 9th?
Yes, sir.
Actually, it's practically 14 years to the day.
Wow.
I think the Blind Guardian show in 2002. Oh man, I'm going to screw this up. Somebody's going to correct me online because that's what people do on the interwebs. But
right.
I think it was like December 8th that it was Blind Guardian and Symphony X. It was at the Lab at that time. And it was 2002. So it's 2016. So yeah, it was 14 years practically to the day. And part of what the decision was, when Station 4 went down, that was sort of the beginning of the end, because that was the metal venue in the Twin Cities.
Sure.
It just was. And there have been a lot of very cool things that have happened. Obviously, you're doing the thing at Lee's, which is awesome. And the Triple Rock has stepped up a little bit, and Bobby with Leo Presents has been doing the best he can. But the point of the matter is that we really lost the metal venue in the Twin Cities, and we haven't really found a replacement. And I had such a good relationship with Station 4 because I had done so many shows there, and we had co-promoted each other's shows. And I knew Steve, the owner, and we hung out all the time, and we did the shows, and it was really affordable to do a show at Station 4.
Sure.
And so basically, when Station 4 went away, I had one of two choices. I could either do a show at a smaller room like 7th Street or Triple Rock, or I could do it at like Mill City. And obviously, if I could afford to do everything at Mill City, I would, because it was an amazing room. It had amazing stage and great sound and just fantastic all the way around. But it was extremely expensive to do it. And when you're
as far as room rental,
space
rental and shit,
room rental, and the costs associated with running that room, they were just very, very, very high.
Sure.
And with Triple Rock, what happened there was the room is so small that a lot of these European bands are so used to doing the European tour circuit where there are bigger PAs, bigger stages, more equipment, that they would one of two things would either happen. Either the tour manager would look at the room specs and go, no, we're not playing there, or I'd have to rent so much extra gear and truck it all in that it just wouldn't be worth it.
Right.
And so sometimes you'd end up with a situation like I ended up putting out some offers near the end. Let me rephrase that. I ended up putting out some offers around the time when I considered getting out of promotions that were rejected because the venue that I had chosen was Triple Rock.
Sure.
And that's when I knew that it was probably eventually just going to go away.
Now, they've been changing hands as far as like, bookers and promoters there for a while now too, haven't they? Like within the last, 5 to 7 years, they've been switching people up, and it's not always been the same person, right?
At Triple Rock?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they've definitely gone through a lot of changes, and I don't want anybody to misinterpret this. The Triple Rock Social Club is a fantastic room,
right?
And they are great people to work with. I have never ever had a bad experience at Triple Rock, ever, not once. And the only problem is that's not what it boils down to. It can be the coolest room in the world, but if a tour manager is looking at the specs going, hey, we cannot play this. We have too much gear. And actually that was another thing that was sort of another nail in the coffin, was when the Nile show and the Enforcer show ended up on the same date, and we put them at Triple Rock, and that was just the biggest disaster of a show that I've ever done.
Right.
And honestly, that was sort of a turning point where I said, yeah, I think I'm going to start transitioning out of this, because Nile came in and put all their gear on the stage.
Right.
And they basically said, this is our stage and we're not moving our stuff. And I had 4 other bands on the Enforcer bill that had been added to the tour by the agent.
Sure.
But Nile wouldn't budge. And so they ended up playing on the floor, and then the people who would come in to pay money for the show, they saw this, and it just, the whole show was just not the type of thing that I would have been happy putting my name on.
Sure.
And there was nothing I could do.
That stage isn't very big to begin
No,
with.
it's not. It's not. And my hands were completely tied. I did not have any choice in the matter. And it's not that necessarily anybody was to blame. It was just a combination of the wrong circumstances happening at a club that just had a very small stage.
Right.
And it just ended up being a pretty messed up evening. And I thought, I think it's time to stop. And it just, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. There's a lot of other stuff that was going on, a lot of bands switching agencies, and sometimes the agencies they're dealing with other promoters. They don't want to deal with you. So I ended up losing a lot of bands that I had worked with for years and years and years, that I brought here numerous times. And that was another reason why I decided to get out, is that
because they may have been comfortable with you and have known you from coming in, or you bringing them in, but the agents themselves have never worked with you, so they probably were like.
And nobody honors promoter history anymore, and that was part of the deal. That was one of the things that Don taught me, is like, a lot of these bands, they work with the same promoters, so it's going to be very hard for you to get in unless you establish a good reputation for yourself. And I literally have done that over the last 14 years. I think that my reputation as a promoter is pretty darn good in terms of the bands that I work with. And if you've read some of the stuff that's ended up coming up on Blabbermouth or whatnot from various bands that have talked about me, I've done that. I've put on good shows and I've treated bands well, because that's what Don taught me to do.
Sure.
But the problem is that somewhere along the line, everybody just stopped honoring promoter history.
Right.
And basically what that means is it's like, okay, well, Nathan did the last Blind Guardian show, but we're working with this other guy, so we're going to give Blind Guardian to them. And so I never did another Blind Guardian show after 2002, not even once, because they just went with their own guys. And so that was super frustrating. And but it got to a point where all these different factors, and it kind of stopped being fun. And that's when I really knew that it was time to move on, because I said, it's been a labor of love.
So the Nile show was kind of the final nail in the coffin?
That was really the turning point where I said, yeah, I think it's time to figure out a graceful exit. And I'm trying to remember, I had booked, I think I had booked Dark Tranquility and Sonata right around the time that show had gone through. And I thought, well, you know what? Sonata's a good one to end on, because they were one of the first bands I ever did. It was their first U.S. tour. It was like my 3rd year in promotions, something like that, 3rd or 4th. And I thought, I think I'm just going to end with Sonata. And then I had other offers come my way. There were some shows that I turned down, and then I had a couple of the agents that I was working with. They're like, well, you keep turning stuff down. What's going on? And I said, well, I think I'm done. I think I'm retiring. And so then Sonata ended up being the last show I had booked. But then I didn't want to do this big black cloud of doom over everybody's good time.
Sure.
So I waited until November 1st was the day I officially announced it, November 1st of this year. And then I had those last 2 shows on the books. I had Dark Tranquility on the 19th of November, and then Sonata was 3 days later at Mill City on the 22nd. And I said, that's how I'm going to go on. I'm going to go out with Sonata. They were one of the first bands. They're a band that has meant a lot to me over the years. That's a great way to end. And the crowd that night was amazing. I'll never forget anybody. And Tony Kakko from Sonata Arctica was just amazing. Called me out from the stage and kept thanking me for all the shows that I had done for him. And luckily, I had been able to work with them over multiple shows. That was actually the 4th time that I had brought them to the Twin Cities. So, it was a great night. It was a great way to end it. And I'll still be around, but time for somebody else to take a stab at it.
Yeah. I'm not even sure if there is somebody else to take a stab at it. I mean, so when it comes down, would you be interested or have any kind of I don't know, would you ever want to mentor somebody else to do what you've done in the past?
Absolutely. If somebody came to me and said, "Yeah, I really want to know how to do this, and here's my references, and here's people that'll vouch for me," and yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's not a difficult business per se. In other words, there's not a lot of rocket science to promoting.
Sure.
The thing is that you've got to be able to take a few financial hits and be able to keep going.
Sure.
And that I've found that has been the most difficult part of all of it, is because I've had people that have approached me about this, that, and the other thing, and they co-promote one show and then it goes south, and okay, I'm done. Well, yeah, nobody ever got rich doing this.
Sure.
That's
right.
what a lot of people seem to forget. I mean, you see the big crowds and everything, and everybody thinks that, oh yeah, you're doing concerts, you must be super rich. Well, no.
Right.
Even some of the most successful promoters around town, live very, very modest lives.
Sure.
It's just, it's like anything else. It's a job. But lucky, I was in a very fortunate position because I have a couple of other businesses that I do that pay for my bills, and so I could afford to do promotions like a hobby business, a labor of love, and
Sure.
that's what it was, for many years. I didn't care if I lost money.
Right.
I just wanted to be able to put on a good show
And get the bands that you really like.
Get the bands that
Right.
I really wanted, because I thought, well, okay, if I'm going to drive to Chicago and see these guys versus bring them to my hometown
Right.
and be able to have dinner with them and then be in the front row, well, I'm going to take the latter.
Sure.
So that's the way I looked at it for a number of years. It's like I can either drive to Chicago, take 2 days off of work, and spend $500, or I can lose $500
Right.
bringing them to town and have
Sure.
a better experience.
Now, with some of these bands too. I mean, there's you brought bands from Europe and overseas and everything, right? You brought them here to play shows for you. Now that's got to take a big amount of planning as far as like making sure that they've got visas, making sure that they that they can get airfare or things like that. Is that
Well, luckily, I never really. What you're describing is called a one-off. In
Okay.
other words,
Sure.
Let's just pick a band out of the air. Let's pick a Blind Guardian. Let's say that I'm going to fly Blind Guardian in for a one-off show in Minnesota. It's the only show they're going to do. They're not going to tour. They're not going to have a bus. Nothing. Then you're absolutely right. I'm talking about airfare, on visas, the whole business. Luckily, I really didn't do that at all.
Okay.
There were a couple of festivals where I flew in bands, but by and large, all of the 99% of the stuff that I did was all the band is already here on tour.
Okay.
And it's
so just coming through the area?
so yeah, they're coming through Chicago, they're coming through good grief, I just brain farted.
That's
Colorado,
okay.
Denver. They're coming through Denver. So you got to bring them to Minnesota. So, okay, what's it going to cost? Well, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8 grand.
Right.
And then you got to figure out, well, okay, am I going to have enough people coming through the door that it makes it worthwhile? And you got to do all that math. And and is it an assumable risk or not?
Right.
And so I never really did a lot of one-offs for that reason, because it gets very, very expensive very, very quickly.
Right.
And if anybody knows that, it's Glenn Harveston of Prog Power, who that is all he does for that festival. It's all one-offs. I mean, every once in a while.
That's a big festival, right?
Yeah, it's in terms of underground metal here in the cities, or in the country, it's the biggest underground festival that really there is, with the exception of maybe like Maryland Death Fest or something like that. But yeah, so you're talking about pretty much exclusively doing one-offs. Yeah, you want to bring Sunburst, or you want to bring this band or that band that doesn't have a U.S. presence at all. Well, yeah, you're flying them in, and you're getting their visas done, and yeah, that's exactly how it's done. But most of the stuff that I was dealing with was all tour related.
Right.
So, and believe me, especially right now, the visa thing is such a headache. I'm so glad I didn't have to deal with that.
Right.
Even dealing with it once a year for doing the opening days of Prog Power Festival, which I promote with another guy, it's just the biggest headache you'd ever want to deal with in your entire life.
Right.
You want to talk about government bureaucracy and red tape and hoop jumping, it's just the biggest nightmare. You don't ever want to have to deal with it. So
now are you completely done, or are you gonna do those co-promoting shows with other people, or?
I'm gonna stay involved in the Prog Power community, because I've been going to that festival since 2004. I've never missed a year. And I actually was given an opportunity to be a part of the festival in 2013.
Right.
And
I believe we touched on that the last podcast.
Yeah,
we did as well.
yeah, we talked a little bit about it, and it was just a huge opportunity for me, and I dove at it. I really wanted to do it, and it's sort of, again, it's kind of a contained thing. It happens once a year, so I have a little bit more time to devote to it now, and it's more of the music that I chase after, the prog metal, the power metal.
Sure.
Whereas when you're doing the local promotions, you've got to grab everything. And not to say that I don't like the occasional death or black or thrash or whatever, but the stuff that really gets me hopping up and down and headbanging and air guitar is the prog and the power, and that's what this festival specializes. So to be able to work with that exclusively, yeah, I'm going to keep my hands in that.
You probably told me this on the last podcast, and I'm such a burnout, I forget about stuff like this, but what was that first band that made you jump towards that music? What pulled you, what gravitated you to that music?
Oh, it was Blind Guardian.
Yeah.
Blind Guardian, hands down. Well, I guess it would probably be a toss-up between Blind Guardian and Manowar, because I heard both of those bands before I really knew what a lot of these terms meant.
Sure.
You sort of heavy metal, and then all of a sudden, well, now there's power metal, now there's death metal, now and all of a sudden you find out what all this different stuff means, and it's like this whole door of music opens up to you that you previously never even knew existed. But I had heard both of those bands before I was aware of these different genres and their distinctions, and I immediately just started buying everything that I could find.
Who was that person that opened that door for you?
Don Decker, when he walked into my theater in 2002 to see Scooby-Doo with his girlfriend and his girlfriend's daughter. As a matter of fact, and when I went to his store for the first time, and then it was Tom, whose last name I can never remember.
Yeah.
But I can remember sitting there.
Balo.
Thank you very much. But Tom Balo sat there, and I remember Don sitting across the room on this couch with his cat Spooks, and Tom Balo was sitting there with a CD player, and he's like, "Okay, this is death metal. It sounds like Cookie Monster," and he put in something. He's like, "Okay, now this is black metal." And like, you hear the difference.
Right.
So he went through it, like
step by step.
Yeah, like played like 20 different CDs for me, and like, this is what this is, and this is what that is, and I mean, it just totally.
I have to say, man, Don was super good at that too, man. Where like once he found that like if you really like this, if he saw you at the show and he saw you getting into something like that,
He knew every band.
dude. And it was like,
did.
dude, I would walk into some place or he would come up to me and he would go, "Oh, I got something for you," and he would reach over, he'd grab the CD. Have you heard these guys? And you look at it, I've never heard of this fucking band. He'd go,
And you loved it.
yeah, and he goes, "I know you'll like it. You'll love this. You got to take this with you. Check it out." You know what I mean?
Well, and the first band that Don ever turned me on to was Rhapsody.
Right.
And I remember that when I went to his shop for the first time, and he's like, "Oh, okay, Swords, so you like the power metal. All right, have you heard this?" And he hands me Rhapsody, Dawn of Victory. Right. And I'd never heard him. And so we put the CD into his great big stereo, and he had all the great big speakers and whatnot because from his band, from Anal Blast. Right. So he had all of that hooked up to that. And I mean, it was just deafening. I mean, he turned that on and the whole building shook. Yeah. And I'm like, I've never heard music like this. And I bought all their stuff from him and all of Gamma Ray, all of Ed Guy. So yeah, he went right down the list. Like, oh yeah, you gotta have this, you gotta have that. And I mean, I bet I bought $200 worth of CDs from the first 5 minutes. Yeah. So
dude, he was so good at that.
He was incredible
at connecting with you on that shit. He'd just go, "You like this? You like that? You like this? Check this out. You got to have this. You got to do this." Fucking always giving you copies of shit.
So when those guys did Grand Demise, Jay told me, it was before I joined them.
Yeah,
they were just Decker heard him practicing whatever. He comes down there. "What the hell is this?" He comes pounding on the door, and I forget exactly. He said some small breakdown genre of black metal and Swedish death metal, which is exactly what Jay said they were going for in that sound. He had it pegged like
instantaneously.
Instantly.
Yeah.
That guy was so in tune to every genre of metal, and he probably didn't listen to a lot of the stuff that you liked.
Right.
But he knew metal. Yeah. So top to bottom.
You know what's funny is that Aaron Whitesides was telling a story about Don, and this was him to the fucking T, that they would come into a town, right? They're on tour. They come into a town, and then he would see people sitting out in front of the fucking place, and he would select something. Give me that CD, He'd put it in, and he would roll his windows down like. That picturesque thing in the movie where dude rolls up and the background music comes in, and the dude comes in, "Ha, I'm here, motherfucker," And Aaron Whiteside said several times that he would do this. He would roll up and he knew he was coming to the club, so he'd play a specific band. Like, this is what I want people to know I'm listening to when I pull up to the fucking thing, so they know, you know what I mean? And it is so Decker, because he would do that all the fucking time. Remember that old Datsun that he had? That little brown piece of shit fucking, was either a Toyota or a Datsun.
Was that the one that...
Honda even.
When he
pull it into the Mirage? Smash it right into the fucking wall.
Yeah. He comes whipping into the Mirage for a show and does this gigantic U-shaped turn. Skidding and goes boom into the wall.
Yep.
Parks it, gets out and goes, "No brakes."
Yeah, that's absolutely it. Unreal. Absolutely, man. Yeah. So the Rhapsody, it was a snowball effect after that.
Oh,
you were just picking it up left and right.
Oh yeah, and I've never looked back. Ever since he swung that door open, that's now all I'm interested is, okay, what is the new power metal CD coming out of Europe? What's the new prog metal CD coming out of Europe? And I mean, half the bands that I listen, well, more than half of the bands that I listen to, like my friends around here, unless they're into the scene and whatnot, they've never heard of them because they've only heard of the U.S. stuff.
Sure.
And I'm listening to all the great stuff that's coming out of Europe that Don threw that door wide open for me.
So how do you hear about this now? Now that, I mean, you obviously you're connected with a lot more people that are into that style of stuff. There's got to be avenues that people can connect with that, right?
Well, it's a lot easier now than even 10 years ago. I mean, we're still well into the age of the internet at that point, but even now, I mean, if I want to hear new music, what I'll do, and I'm sure that there are 18 different methods that are better than what I do.
Right.
But what I do is I'll put YouTube on at work, and I'll pick a couple of bands that I like, and then just let the random music selector go. And then all of a sudden, if I hear something and I'm like, oh wow, I don't know what that is, then I open the page and I look, oh, it's so and so. It's Crystal Dragon.
Right.
I guess I got to check these guys out. And I mean, I've run into a whole bunch of bands that way that I didn't know. Or you just watch the Prog Power forum and see what people are listening to and what people are talking about, and you can do that via Facebook or the forums. And I mean, all the action's moving now to social media. The forums are sort of becoming outdated.
Right.
But there's and I mean, just people of like mind that you're friends with on Facebook, watch what they post.
Sure.
Or join some Facebook group. We love heavy metal, we love thrash metal, we love whatever.
Sure.
And see what those guys post. There are so many ways to find new bands now. It's so easy now to find a new obsession of who to listen to.
Well, I'm sure you're gonna grace us with a lot of these bands that we're kind of skirting around.
I might have.
All right. Well, let's take a listen to a few. We've got some. Let me see here. Glory Hammer.
Oh yes.
Oh, where'd you hear about these guys?
Oh, actually, that came from Dan Millard of Blackwind Metal. Got me into Glory Hammer, and they got 2 albums out, and they're both absolutely fantastic.
Sounds
they need to be owned.
It sounds like some sort of it could be a porn star name. Glory Hammer.
Yeah, I get a lot of shit for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. That's great. And then Blind Guardian. I mean, you said you've had those guys around a few times, and one of your favorite bands.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Kick ass. And then going old school with some Alice Cooper.
Due to everything that's happened since November, I thought that track in particular was needed to be played tonight.
Awesome. And then some Oceans of Sadness. Where'd you hear about those guys?
Actually, that was one of the things that the YouTube thing.
Awesome.
They started playing them. I'm like, what is this?
Right.
Bought the album, and it's fantastic.
Well, badass. Well, let's take a listen. Stick around, folks. We got a lot more to come. We're going to play some tunes for you, and we'll be back. Hey. Welcome back. You're listening to Ritual Madness Podcast, episode 146, hanging out with the Swordlord. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great, man. Feels so good to be back.
Excellent.
Good to be back.
And Mr. Sean Jensen's in the room, too, if you guys know who that is. Hi. So I wanted to ask you a couple questions. We're sitting here talking, and so when it comes to this style of music that you love so much, when you turn somebody on to this type of music, do you just go fucking super deep and give them a ton of great bands, or do you give just a couple? Like, here, you got to check this out. Come see me in like a week or so when you're done swallowing all of that.
It kind of depends on the personality of whom I'm dealing with. Right. Like if I know that, like, I got one buddy who he has to listen to everything like 10 times before he can make a decision on whether or not he likes it. Right. Now, I'm that way about maybe a few things, but normally if I hear something, it'll hook me immediately. And I'll be like, yeah, I love that. I got to find more of it.
Sure.
Or I'm sitting there going, you know what? I can't quite put my finger on it right this second, but I know I want to listen to this a few more times until I get it. And then normally it'll click right after that. So if it's this buddy of mine who needs to listen to everything 20 times, then I usually just start with like one track. I'll be like, just listen.
Not even a full album.
Not even nothing. I just listen to this one song. And then it'll be like, yeah, I listened to it like 7 or 8 times. I'm not feeling it. I'm like, okay, fine. Here's another song. Now listen to that 20 times. Get back to me in a week.
Right.
But then I've got other friends of mine who catch on a little bit more quickly. And so then I'll say, yeah, you got to check this out. And I'll give them 3 or 4 YouTube links. Check this song out, then follow it with this song. And yeah, the greatest thing ever is that when you get somebody they'll send you a message or whatever. Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much for turning me on to that.
You know what's crazy though, man? So many times in all the years that I've been listening to music, it's like I will grab one disc, and it won't be that somebody will say, "Oh, you got to hear this tune, you got to hear that tune," or you hear it on the radio, and you're like, they've got to have. It always dawns on me that they have to have a deeper track Like, okay, I can see some things in this band. Like, okay, I really like this. I really like that.
Yeah.
And then I think to myself, I have to go deeper. I
Yep.
have to find, because I kind of like it. It's like right at the tip of the iceberg, and under the water, that's where all of the good shit is. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I'll go deeper and deeper, and then it'll be one song that nobody told me about that you'll find, and it fucking hooks me.
Yeah, it's like track 7.
Yeah.
You had to get really into it to be able to find it.
Yeah.
And what's rough for me is that I'm a repeater.
Sure.
So like I'll put in an album that I've never heard before, and I'm old school. I like the CD,
Right.
and I do a lot of music listening in my car because
Sure.
that's when I can concentrate the most. So if I get to track 3 and track 3 kicks ass,
Right.
like I got to hear that again, and I back it up.
Dude, I
and
do the
listen to
same
it,
thing,
and I'm
man.
like, I got
I
to
do the
hear it
same
again.
thing.
I mean, there have been albums where like I never heard
Dude, have
like
you
the
heard
first
track 5?
No, it's like a great example. The latest Lacuna Coil album.
Yeah.
What is it? Delirium. I'm gonna screw it up. Somebody will correct me on the internet because that's what they do. But the latest Lacuna Coil album starts out the first track is House of Shame, which was basically their video song, their single, if you will, off the album.
Sure.
And honestly, when I bought that album, that song blew me away. I didn't hear the rest of the album for like weeks because I repeated House of Shame probably like 100 times. I am not kidding. I've listened to that track at least 100 plus times, and I finally got through the rest of the disc. And I mean, it's a great disc, but House of Shame just blew me away, and I'm like that. So sometimes it takes me a while to get to the rest of the CD because I'm so hooked on one song.
Right.
But usually the stuff it'll catch me right away, and I know that some people it takes a bit longer.
Sure. Are there any folks out there that really have taken to what you've given them and go more? I want more.
Oh yeah, and the fun thing is that that's where social media comes in handy because you can post a track to your page, like Facebook. You post a track, and then underneath you comment. And you're like, okay, blah 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 blah. All of you guys got to listen to this right now and then get back to me. And that's when it's super fun because then you start getting people talking about it and then somebody else. And actually, what was really fun is I had posted a track from Ordnogen from Germany. I'd posted a track off an album that was released like 5 years ago. And it had caught me the right way, and I had repeated it a bunch of times. And so I'm like, I just posted it to Facebook. I'm like, this is the song that I'm listening to right now. And this buddy of mine, Nick in Maryland, he sends me this message back, and he's like, dude, that song, I can't stop listening to it. I needed that so much today. Thank you so much for posting that.
Right.
And like that is the greatest feeling in the world. When you get something like that.
Well, dude, you've had to have several experiences like that, bringing in the types of music that you've been known for. I mean, Swordlord, everybody who knows your promotions of what you've done, they were always like selected bands that you really, really love to turn people on to. So you've had to have that happen to you a lot. Like, dude, thanks for, I've never even imagined seeing these guys. And, we've talked on the last podcast, we talked about bands being in Europe or being, overseas and playing huge festivals where you would rather have them come to the United States and play a small club because you're right fucking next to them. You can walk up to them, you can talk to them, you can hang with them, as opposed to going to Europe to see these big stadium tours. So you've had to have that happen a million times.
Greg, that's a great segue into promotions from what we were just talking about music, because you're absolutely right. After I announced my retirement, I was literally swamped with messages. Thank you for bringing in Rhapsody. Thank you for bringing in Blind Guardian. Thank you for bringing in Symphony X. Thank you for bringing in Pagan's Mind. Thank you for bringing in Ed Guy. Thank you for bringing in Camelot. I never would have thought I'd ever gotten to see him, and you brought him in, and I got a chance to. So yeah, after November 1st, I've just been the stories have been rolling in of people telling me how much they enjoyed this band or that band, and yeah, it's been extremely gratifying to know that has made a difference, and obviously brought some new fan blood to these bands that I treasure more than I can put into words.
Sure.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, no, that was I'm glad that you brought that up, because I hadn't really thought about it in those terms. But yeah, definitely have been fortunate enough to have blessed people in that way.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You're passing that along, man. That's the ultimate. Dude, you got to check the CD out. You know what I mean? Like, that's the
'Cause they're
ultimate
coming
shit.
to town.
Well, yeah. If you like this, guess what? Here's a flyer. They're coming. You know.
I can remember being down at Station 4 for shows with bands like you're talking about right now, and seeing you double dip as the promoter and yet being in the crowd as a fan.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
fully active as a fan, and you promoted the show. That's really fucking cool.
I don't.
Yeah, man.
I guess
It's not all
And-
about the
and
money. You know what I mean? That people trip about.
I don't understand how you really. I mean, and I get it. I know that there's 800,000 musical genres and 800 million bands and 800 trillion songs, but I just don't know how you can be a promoter and not be into at least some of the music that you're promoting. I will
for
never
sure.
understand that. And that has always just been sort of, I guess, the great mystery for me is how can you be in what should arguably be the greatest business in the world and not get super psyched up about it? Like, and honestly, and I don't know, maybe some people listening to this will think I'm full of shit. I don't care. It's not.
You just
It is
swore.
not about. Yeah, sorry. It's not about losing the money on some of these shows. It has been about realizing that people lost the experience.
Right.
Like the first time that I ever brought Unleashed to Station 4.
Oh God.
I had never really heard of them. And then when I booked them, I started listening to them. And out of all the death metal that's out there, honestly, death metal is probably my least favorite genre
Right.
of metal.
But they kind of fit the mold that you like. though.
They're
That
amazing.
epic fucking. You
Oh.
know, it's a battle scene when
I can't get enough
dude
of
from
that.
the very
And they've
you were
been
ju-
around for a while.
Dude, and
Yeah,
you
they
were,
have.
you were talking about
We've played
when
with them twice.
dude. That particular show right there, I'd already bought the first 2 albums, I think, maybe at that time. The imagery, just watching the singer, how you doing? Okay? Everything was okay. Oh, all right, good to be here, okay? Everything was okay. And just them playing and that music, it was like a battle scene. The riffs themselves were like riding horses into a battle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just a fucking yeah. So I could see them really being right up your alley. You know what I mean?
Well, but the first show when they came to Station 4, when I promoted them, you know, we only had 150 people or so show up. I lost some money on the show, but honestly, what bummed me out is that everybody that was there, the crowd was just insane.
Right.
Everybody had a good time, and like you said, the singer was it was so cool. The whole band was
Johnny,
cool.
right? Johnny's his name, I
they
think.
came out and they signed everything and they met everybody, and I was just sitting there going, you know, it's not even the fact that I lost money on the show. It's the fact that everybody missed just a great party.
Right.
And it was such a great show. And everything went right that night. It was such a great night. Everybody that came, people were coming up to me going, thank you. I never thought I'd get a chance to see these guys. Thank you. And it was such a great show. And I was like, boy, we could have had 600 people here and everybody would have had the time of their lives. And I just keep thinking, where were the other 450 people that missed this amazing show? And that was their first time in Minnesota. So yeah, it was a cool night.
But you
And-
still took away from the people that were there that did enjoy it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that's ultimately what it ends up being. But the point of the matter is that's what goes through my mind when you have a show that doesn't do well. It's like people missed out on a really amazing thing, and sometimes it never ends up happening again. Like Psy from Japan, to the best of my knowledge, they've never been back again.
Right.
So there have been some bands that, after Forever, not long after I brought them to town in, what was it, 07? Either 07 or 08. They broke up not long after that.
Right.
So that was it.
Sure.
Not only was that their first U.S. tour and their first time ever in Minnesota, but that was their last U.S. tour and their last time ever in Minnesota.
Right.
So it just, that's what really bums me out, is that people miss the opportunity. And I know that, you only have so much money and you only have so many hours in a day, and people got to work and people got to do this. But there's just sometimes when bands roll through, you got to figure out a way to make it work. You got to call in sick or pick up an extra shift somewhere, or rearrange something, or find a sitter, or do whatever you got to do.
Steal some old lady's purse. No, now with that as well, those kind of experiences where you have 150 people, you lose a little bit of money on it. That's got to be an experience where you go back and reflect on that situation. Like, what could I have done? What more did I need to do? In this day and age where people are making, the Facebook invitations and in event pages and shit like that, that basically they pop up the day of, or people are, like myself will promote and promote and promote, but it still kind of goes through the cracks. Like they don't see it.
Right.
There's got to be a lot of reflection on that situation where you're like, fuck, man, what can I do different? What other stores how big does this fucking poster have to be for people to show up? Because it is a damn shame. We were just talking about this with Mill City closing and everything.
Yeah.
And the Station 4, the Lab. Those venues close because people aren't showing up to these shows. And it fucking frustrates the shit out of me because, guys like you are at the time are busting your ass to get these bands booked and get them here for other people to enjoy. Not only for yourself, but for other people to enjoy. You want to spread that music to other people.
Yeah.
But dude, you have to look at it and go, what the fuck?
Well, yeah, man, 14 years.
Yeah.
14 years I've been asking myself that. Yeah. And and Decker went through the same thing. I mean, we used to sit around all the time, well, how many posters, how many record stores, how many flyers do we need to do? How many internet posts, how many blasts, how many this, how many that? I mean, and believe me, I did everything. I took out ads in city pages. I paid
expensive fucking ads too, I bet.
Man, they was so expensive. And then, you go to record stores and you put up the posters, and then and of course I would always do the really
stock,
glossy, pretty
those are my
full
favorite.
color postcards. And I had a really nice graphic designer that I met through one of the bigger agencies in town that's not around anymore, but then he did my graphics from that point on. And that was, I'm trying to remember when I got him on board. I think it was like in 2007. And he's still doing my stuff. He's still, for the movies that I'm making, he's doing my graphics and whatnot. But yeah, so I always tried to make my stuff look as pro as possible in terms of the advertising. And I put a lot of money into that graphic designer's pocket to do my advertisements, but as a result, all my posters and everything always looked really good.
Right.
So
did you collect a lot of that? Do you still keep all of it?
Oh, I got all of it.
Yeah.
You have to. You
I
have
wish
to.
I would have done that through the years, man. Fuck.
What about the weekday thing? I mean, how crushing is that when, hey, I got this band that should do really good, but they're coming on Tuesday?
You know what the funny thing to that is? Some of the best shows that I ever had were on Monday nights.
Really?
No lie. Because you don't have as much competition. And a lot of metal guys are working jobs where a lot of them end up working weekends. So, I'd have a big show on a Friday night, a big show on a Saturday night, and I'd be all excited about it. And then the attendance would be light, and I'd end up talking to people later on. Yeah, I wanted to go, but I had to work. And so actually the midweek stuff sometimes had a tendency to do better. Like for instance, when I had Camelot and Ed Guy, and I'm trying to remember when that was. I think that was either 2008 or 2009. But I was so excited about that show because it was like Nathan's Orgasm Tour 2008. It's like the two of the bands that I respect the most out of all the bands on one bill, one night. And it was Monday night, and I'll never forget this. And the pre-sale was really light. And I thought, oh, man, gonna take a bath on this show. And I'm not kidding. I'm not making this up. I went to the bank and I emptied my savings account because I'm like, I'm gonna have to square the show.
Right.
I'm gonna end up taking a bath on the show. I had paid a lot for it because the agent knew I liked the music and he took full advantage of that.
Right.
And
what a fucking dick.
And
that's shitty. That's got to be shitty, man.
And so but I'm like, okay, you know, I signed the contract, my name's on it. And so I got back to Station 4 and I watched everybody's sound check. We were just about to open the doors, and Steve Ledeen from Station 4 is like, yeah, Nathan, go open the doors, let your crowd in. And I walked outside, and there was a line down the block.
Nice.
Down the block.
That's got to be a moment.
The weight just like lifted off of my
You're
shoulders.
like, where did that all come from?
Right.
We did 340 people for that show. It was one of the highest attended shows
you know
I had.
What's crazy about Nathan, too, is that he's one of the cats that will stand at the fucking door and shake your hand and say, thank you. Thank you for coming in. Thanks.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming. Thank you. I've seen you do it before. We're like, dude, thanks for coming. Thank you very much. You're shaking hands. You're giving people hugs. Hey, man, great to see you. Fucking enjoy yourself. Come on in.
And like
Thank
I
you.
said,
it's so
just
crazy.
a little bit ago,
We're back in the day with Decker because we would do, you know, we talked about this before too, where he'd be sitting on the fucking, you know, hey man, can we get it? Fuck you. You know what I mean? Just an asshole to everybody until he broke even. Once he broke even, then he was, come on in, fucking let's go, you know? But until that point, man, oh God, he'd be a bear, man. Holy fuck.
Well,
and pissed.
And the funny thing of the side note to that story is when the first show that Don and I did together was Blind Guardian and Symphony X. That night, I was determined. I had made up my mind before the first night that this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to get into this business, and so I stood at the door and I sold all. We did 400 people that night on the nose. I don't know how that happens. We sold exactly 400 tickets. And I sat there at the door, and I sold them all myself, and I shook every single person's hand. And Decker laughed at me the entire night because it was freezing cold. It was like we had this super cold spell that night that hit, and it was snowing, and it was miserable. And I stood at the door, and I shook every single person's hand that came through the door that night. And Decker couldn't believe it. He's like, I've never seen this.
Dude, do you realize that if he would have done that one show, everybody would have loved him so much more? God, he was such a fucking dick. But do you remember that one Cannibal Corpse show where he sat there and he shook everybody's hand as they came in?
Never happened. Never would have happened.
Absolutely not, man. He'd fucking throw your ass out. Oh God. You know, there's a few times where I actually had the pleasure to see you actually fanboy out and just totally fucking pull the knot out and just fucking rock out, fucking hand up in the air.
That's what I'm talking about.
Dude.
It was so fun to watch.
Oh,
Yeah, dude.
I believe me when I say this. The last 14 years of being a metal promoter in the Twin Cities have given me experiences that I am damn lucky to have had.
Right.
And I will never forget. And I'm indebted to everybody, to Don, to Steve of Station 4, to Brian of Cold Colors, to you, to Neil of Kunanoon, to Gene Hollister of Rose Presents, to all of these different people over the years that have had my back or helped me promote a show or had a good word to say or did this or did that. Believe me, the last 14 years have been fantastic, and there was way more good than bad. Right. Believe
you
me.
actually did it for us when I was in Grand Demise. We did one of your festivals. Atheist and.
And you played the Mayhem show that went to hell, literally.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yep.
The Blackest of the Black tour.
But I remember we had just gotten up on stage and you were like, hey man, I'd like to introduce you guys, and we were like, sure, cool, and I mean, you came up and just gave us really good kudos, and that's really unheard of. I mean, you didn't need to do that. We already appreciated the fact that we were on the bill to begin with, let alone, you came up and, hey, this is probably the, currently the best metal band in Minneapolis, and, crowd, whoa, it's just a great welcome, and, stuff like that goes far beyond, trust me, after being in music for as long as we've been doing it too, nobody's done that.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Well, and I meant it too. I mean, you guys were
wholeheartedly
fantastic. I absolutely loved you. You were definitely a band that it was a pleasure to put on shows. It really was.
That's way cool, man.
And you guys were good. You know, I mean, not
talented.
You know,
guys. Every one of them.
Not to slam anybody, and I'm not mentioning any names, but
please do.
You know, there's. Well, I mean, every once in a while, there's that band that you put on a show that you smile and nod.
Yeah.
And, you know, but you guys were actually really, really good. And I'd always kind of hoped that you'd break out of here and find a.
That's easier said than done.
Oh, I know.
You know,
Believe me, I know.
It's so fucking sad to say, though, man. You know what I mean? There's so many talented musicians in the Twin Cities. There's so many, and it's you hardly ever hear the bands that break from out of here. They don't ever play here. They're like, fuck our hometown. We're going in a van. We're jumping in a van and we're going. You know what I mean?
Well, the U.S. is tough.
Yeah.
I think
it is
the
tough.
U.S. is tough. Period.
It's worldwide. Everybody knows that the U.S. is a tough nut to crack, and it's because there's so much distance.
Yep.
You know, everybody wonders why Europe gets all the big festivals.
Right.
Well, it's because
they have metal fans.
Right.
Well, lots of them.
Well, so do we. But the point of the matter is that you can drive the distance from here to Duluth, and you can go from
5 countries,
Germany to France,
right?
And you can play
to a different festival.
You can play to another epicenter of 12 million people, and you could do that over the course of 3 months and cover more ground and hit more people than in 6 months of traveling the United States. And the average U.S. metal meathead just doesn't understand that. And it honestly, I'm not trying to be that guy, but the U.S. metal scene needs to understand that. And what really is frustrating, and I'll give you an example of how frustrating this is. When you see a band that's going to come to the United States from wherever, let's say it's from Sweden, and they post on their Facebook page, and they're like, "We are coming to the U.S. in 2017. Get ready." And what do you see underneath? Come to Nashville. Come to Texas. Come to Arizona. Come to Kansas. Hey, how about you post, "Come to the U.S. and I will go no matter where you are," because that's how big of a fan that I am, that I'm going to grab about 3 of my jarhead friends,
jump in a car, take turns driving,
and we're going to drive all night to go and see you. That is when Rhapsody and Man of War toured together in the United States. This was back in 2005. And believe me, nobody was happier about that than me, because I had been a Rhapsody fan for 4 years or so at that point. And the closest that they were getting to Minnesota was Cleveland. And I rented a passenger van, and I called up everybody I knew. And I said, "Who wants to go to this show?" And there were 10 of us that ended up getting into that van and chugging across the Midwest to Cleveland. And we all found a hotel. We all hung out. We all had dinner before the show. We saw the show. We met everybody, and we came back. And let me tell you something. That is the type of trip that friendships are just emblazoned on,
they're
bronzed on, and experiences that you will never get again when you do something like that. So stop asking this band to come to your backyard where you and your 4 friends are going to show up to Club Jerkwater at the corner of Main and 4th. Just get in a car and go to New York,
see 'em.
Go to Chicago, go to LA, go to whatever the big city is near you, and support that band.
Milwaukee Metal Fest was that spot for me when I was a kid, man. We'd go there. I'd jump in with fucking 5-6 dudes.
Same thing.
And drive all the way to fucking Milwaukee. And the tape trading was so huge back then, man. You'd bring up, a shoebox full of demos.
Of your own stuff.
Yeah. Dude, here, give me one of
and
those.
leave with 10 shoe boxes of other stuff.
Dude,
yes.
That's where I heard of Mortis Gold. I heard Cyanide. I heard fucking, Flesh God, or what was it?
Flesh Grind?
Flesh Grind.
Yes.
That was the one. God, there was so many.
God will make it better.
God will make it better. Fuck yeah, dude. Excellent. So that was my, traveling around and doing that when I was a kid, 15, 16 years old. That was the shit.
And you do have to admit that it was easier then, because you were talking earlier about, weekday shows and, people coming up with excuses. I lived 2 hours away in Rochester, Minnesota, and there were weeks that I would go to First Avenue 3 times.
Right. Then you moved up here.
Yeah. It was finally like,
Then worked
it's
at
going to
the
be
club.
cheaper to live there than fucking pay for all this gas.
Yep.
But no, it wasn't even a second thought. I mean, I remember losing jobs over it. Napalm Death, I asked for the day off. The guy's like, nope, you got to work. I'm like, fuck you. I guess my job's gone, man.
Right.
Going to Napalm Death.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
But when you get a little older, that's tougher to do.
Yeah, not the smartest option. Yeah. Well, let's take a listen to some more tunes. We got some more stuff. What is this? Organ? That's the one you were just talking about, right?
Organ, yeah, from Germany. They're fantastic. It's probably the song I was talking about too.
Yeah. What? How about Pagan's Mind? Where'd you hear? Wait, hold on. Let's hear about the German band first. Where'd you hear about those guys?
Organ, again, was Dan Millard from Blackwind Metal turned me on to them, and oh man, what a fantastic band! If you have not heard, they're sort of like a powery folk metal-y German band. They're just fantastic.
Nice.
Very fantasy orientated, but just fantastic stuff. Every single one of their albums are worth having.
How about Pagan's Mind?
Pagan's Mind from Norway is everything. I'm going to get in trouble for this. Pagan's Mind is everything that Dream Theater should have been.
Woo!
Wow.
Deep one right there.
I am not kidding.
Swordlord swings the sword.
Yep.
And don't.
Ching, ching. I wish I had that.
And
fucking
nobody,
soundbite.
nobody misunderstand, because believe me, I love Dream Theater. But if it's a choice between Train of Thought and Heavenly Ecstasy from Pagan's Mind, I'm going with Heavenly Ecstasy from Pagan's Mind.
There you go. Avantasia?
Avantasia.
Okay.
Tobias Sammet from Ed Guy's side project since 2001. They came to the U.S. for the first time in 16 years. They played 2 cities. They played New York and they played L.A. And guess who was at New York? It was me.
Nice.
I flew out
That's
there
the way
and
to
made
go right there.
damn sure I saw them.
Where did they play?
PlayStation Theater in Manhattan.
Oh wow.
And incredible.
How many seater club
Incredible
there?
show. What?
How many seat club there?
I think the capacity was like 2,200, but don't quote me on that.
And how was it full? Was it packed?
Probably 75% full.
Wow, that's not bad.
It wasn't.
Where are they from?
They're Tobias Sammet is from Germany, and the rest of the guys hail from all over the place.
Sure.
It's kind of like a revolving door. He brings in a lot of different artists for every album.
Right.
So
Okay. And then let me see. Oh, Immortal.
yeah, because the bot has been touring
Yeah.
and he's been playing this song, and I'm like, this is one of my favorite Immortal songs. I had to toss that on there as a
Awesome.
tip the hat to the black metal crowd.
Awesome, man. Well, we'll take a listen. You folks stick around. We got a whole bunch more. Hey, Ritual Madness Podcast, episode 146. Hanging out with the Master Swordlord. Do me a favor. Check out ritualmadnesspodcast.com. On the right side, you can connect with us on a multitude of links. iTunes, Stitcher, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Do me a favor. Download the Listen to My Radio app on your smartphone application store. LIST and the number 2, My Radio. And then in the search bar, push Ritual Madness Podcast. You'll be able to connect with the station and listen to all of our songs that we got playing all the time. And if you shop Amazon, there's an Amazon link on there. Click that Amazon link, bookmark it as your own. Every time you buy something from Amazon, it'll kick us back a couple pennies at no cost to you. If you are in a band or have friends that are in bands and want to promote your stuff on the station, please do that. Ritual Madness Podcast at Gmail, Ritual Madness Podcast at Gmail. Also, please check out Disciples of the Watch Podcast, dotwpod.com. Some good friends doing a great podcast. Check them out. That's dotwpod.com. And the Root of All Evil radio show at Fresh Air Radio's KFAI every Sunday morning, actually, 1 a.m. till 6 a.m. They do a great show. It's been going on since the early 80s, and they kept that stuff going after Earl's passing, and please give them some support. Also, Monthly Madness show at Lee's Liquor Lounge once a month. Next one is December 17th. That's next weekend. Glutton for Punishment Face of Oblivion, Invidiosus, Towering Abomination, and Mutation. Going to be a great show. It's also my birthday weekend, so come hang out. $2 Jack and Cokes, $3 PBR Tallboys, $300 in tattoo giveaways. Also, I wanted to let you guys know tomorrow, December 10th, we've got for the NYDM 5-state regional chapter, we have a Toys for Tots annual. It's a 4th annual Toys for Tots celebration that we do every year. And $7 to get in, 7 p.m. start, 21 plus. We've got Moloch, Ghost Hook, Bray Road, Tempestuous, and Murder in the House of God. And I actually had a chance to work with the guys from Murder in the House of God just a couple shows back at Lee's Liquor Lounge. Very, very good band. Young cats. I definitely would suggest you stick around for that. Those guys are really, really good. Also, want to thank Tempestuous, Glutton for Punishment, and all the other bands that that were kind enough to donate their time for the Chilton family benefit. Very cool thing down at Opinion Brewery. Jordan Swanson of the Omega Sequence and Echoes of the Fallen was kind enough to throw us a benefit after our crash in September. Very, very cool. It was a great turnout, and bands from all over the scene in the Twin Cities, man. So many different styles of music, and so many cool people showed up just to support, and I appreciate it so much. And I have yet to release the podcast that we did right before. It was like the night before the benefit, and Jordan and I it got pretty deep. I was actually kind of teary eyed up in here because it was so cool that he took the time to put it all together and get so many things for the silent auction and all that stuff. So we're back with Mr. Swordlord, and we've got a bunch of stuff, and I know he's got to get going here because he's got to get up early in the morning because some people in this world, they actually do work and take care of business. Right? You got to make that stuff happen. You know what I really wanted to ask on the last segment is the content of the music that you like to listen to is very theatrical, and I know that you're really into movies and you've been doing your own stuff and everything like that, but the music that you like has such an epic theme to it. I mean, is that really something that really snatches you up when you listen to that stuff?
Yeah, I guess when you put it that way, it seems like it's so obvious that I should have come to that conclusion on my own. But yeah, I guess I've always just gravitated towards that. My favorite band of all time is Queen.
Sure.
And Freddie Mercury was the most flamboyant, epic performer of all time. And as a young kid getting into music, I was watching all these Queen concerts from back in the day with the huge light shows and the huge production, the way that you don't get anymore, the way they did it back in days gone by. And yeah, I guess, and I've always, right alongside that, I've always really loved movies, and I grew up seeing a lot of epic type movies and big production westerns and all the stuff that was coming out of the 70s and 80s, and so yeah, I guess some of the power metal with the more anthemic and the orchestral arrangements that accompany that, and the big compositions like that track, the Avantasia track that we just listened to that was almost 10 minutes long.
Sure.
That stuff just, I guess, resonates with me. It sort of hits all the a whole bunch of different things that I've liked and enjoyed over the years, and yeah, that just finds a chord with me, I guess.
Yeah, man, that's really cool because I guess a lot of people don't correlate all of that stuff. I mean, everything that you seem to be into, I mean, if you look at, even old movies, that the score of an old movie really makes a movie. If you took the score out of, 90% of the movies that we really loved as kids, you know what I mean? They would just be,
they wouldn't be the same at all.
I mean, Star Wars, one of the biggest scores. I mean, you will, the Imperial March, you will know that, it's embedded in our heads as, since we were kids, man, I could see, listening to all these songs, I could see that it's such a theatrical feeling to it. It has the elements of a great story in it, and everyone. And I've always thought that being a writer and being a musician, that it's so difficult to tap into that vein, to be able to write a song and to be able to stretch a good story, to fit a good story in such a small amount of time, 3-4 minutes. And then you have bands that, like that advantageous stuff that you're talking about, 10 minutes. It still seems to me not long enough to get those epic sagas in there. You know what I mean? Which to me, I would want it to bleed into the next one. Like, here's the hem of whatever part 2. You know what I mean? Like constantly going into that, or like a Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime or something where it's a whole story throughout the whole album. I could see that happening with me trying to write. Oh man, I got a quarter of this, this whole thing in 2 songs, or if that,
Absolutely. And it's really remarkable when sometimes brevity is the greatest achievement. Like when you get a song that's incredibly short, and actually the one that's coming to my mind is actually another Glory Hammer track, and it's the bonus track off of their first album, and it's called Wizards, and it's 2 minutes and 21 seconds.
Damn.
And
the guy just casting a spell.
Yeah, pretty much. And it is so amazingly epic the way that they wrote it. And I listen to that track and I go, I can't believe that they pulled it off, that they made a song that short that is so unbelievably amazing. And then you get something like, Green Carnation, where they did a 30-minute song, and Dream Theater has a bunch of pretty long tracks. And of course, Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody is around 6 or 7 minutes. So,
which was unheard of back then.
Yeah, and a lot of radio stations refuse to play it because they're it's too long. Nobody's going to sit still for that long and listen to it. And yeah, it's so good. How could you not? Though? You know what I mean? That I love old Queen. Queen is excellent. The Game is the first album that I really got it. I mean, I had my mom buy that album for me when I was a kid because of, Another One Bites the Dust was the radio song, but beyond that whole album is phenomenal front to back. Well, and that was actually the first album that they had that broke the States. Yeah. They had We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions sort of became one track in the US, whereas the rest of the world knows it as 2 different songs, but US radio was sort of playing them together, and those did all right, and then Bohemian Rhapsody did all right, but it really wasn't until The Game came along with Another One Bites the Dust and Crazy Little Thing Called Love. That was a great song. Yeah, the only 2 #1 hits that Queen ever had in the US off the same album, no less.
And that was a throwback. That Crazy Little Thing Called Love was such a throwback to like the 50s. You know what I mean? That doo-woppy kind of, I don't know, a barbershop quartet kind of thing. You know what I mean? That just old school rock and roll. They never even back then they weren't doing that style anymore. Right? It was so much heavier, so much different. Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath. Deep Purple, things like that. To where, they really kind of grabbed from the past. With that particular song anyways.
Well, and Freddie Mercury wrote that in a bathtub in a hotel room on tour.
Sure.
So yeah, just the whole crazy way that songs get written and end up becoming huge and make it in some markets and not in others is always of interest to me, and I'm sure to you too as a musician.
Yeah, it's crazy that people are people in the record industry say this is what's good. You know what I mean? Where nowadays it's so force-fed and so, like forced.
Right.
It's so, okay, we've got to get you back in the studio and write the second album when, that first album takes you, 7-8 years to write, and it's phenomenal. And then they force you to come back. We got to pump out so many more albums, and they don't give them enough time to really put their feeling into that stuff,
I think it was a little bit more organic back then because it took so long to do everything. It took so long to record all the tracks and so long to do everything. And now that we're living in a
computer age,
microwave culture where everything has got to be ready in seconds. That and especially the way that we can record and music today and make movies today, everything's got to be right away. We've lost a lot of that creative process that made stuff good.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So now that we've kind of covered, the exiting of, and it's sad for me to think of you not doing, your handful of shows, because you've kind of slowed down through the years, and just kind of picked and choose what you really liked. And I mean, maybe it was tour schedules or whatever, you know the logistics of all of it, but I've kind of seen you slow down throughout the years, and
Yeah.
it's tough because you have, Bobby and other promoters that are trying to, grab everything that comes around, and they're doing a great job. There's a lot of promoters that are still doing a great job around here.
Absolutely.
But you always had a selective, a selective genre of bands that you would bring in. And it was always great to see people, come together. Like you said, Brian from Cold Colors and Neil and from Kunanoon, and there's so many more handfuls of people, but everybody seemed to rally with you when it came to doing your specific promotions, the things that you did. It really seemed like you brought people together.
I was very, very fortunate to work with a very good group of devoted people, and I ended up seeing a lot of the same people at my shows, and yeah, it made this process so much easier when you had the same people to rely on. Brent Irwin did help me with a lot of my shows, and Brian Cold Colors opened a number of my shows. And
Absolutely.
And Brian is such a pro at promotions.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like the promo god
Right.
of Minneapolis. He always knows what record stores to go to or what shows to flyer. And Todd Malloy, of course, was another one who was just like that. He would always know what shows to were coming up, and yeah, you should flyer this show, and you should have a poster up here, and go to this place and put flyers there, and so it was really nice over the years to have these people to fall back on and go, hey, okay, I got this show coming up. What is the best way to reach the audience that would care? And
Right.
and Brian and a lot of these guys were my counsel. It's
Sure.
like, hey, help me out here. What do I need to do? And yeah, it was very gratifying to work with all of those people.
Dude, it's really cool to you even refer to them as a counsel, because when you get into that situation, it's got to be very difficult to even want to take in, constructive criticism, or even, different hints and ways that things to help out. I mean, obviously you want people to help you out, but it has to be kind of difficult as well. You don't want someone to lead you down the wrong path, and you found good enough guys to, offer their time and expertise, if you will,
Oh, absolutely. Because it was always kind of frustrating, because you'd every once in a while, a very well-meaning fan, and I emphasize well-meaning, but somebody would come up to me and say, yeah, buddy told me about this show, but I wouldn't have heard about it if he hadn't told me so. You should advertise more. Well, okay, what does that mean exactly? Because you didn't see me driving to every record store in the Twin Cities,
Sure.
putting up posters
Right.
and handing out flyers. And
Where do you hang out?
Yeah,
I'm going to go there.
Yeah, it's like, give me some specifics. Give me something that I can use. And Brian and Todd and Brent and some of these guys, Neil, were really, really good at saying, yeah, well, specifically, this is a battle plan that I would follow.
Right.
Or, when Brian was on the show, then if Cold Colors was on the show, I knew it was going to get promoted to death. I knew that he would be out there working it
Yeah.
and telling everybody, and we had a lot of success, the two of us.
He definitely. We just had both of his bands, Mordrot and Cold Colors, on one of the last Lee shows, and he did exactly what you said. He said, hey, if you don't, and I had just got into a crash. We booked the show. I put the flyer together, and he's like, dude, I've got a bunch of flyers if you want them. Well, just come pick them up. And then I ran into Aaron. They call him Frodo. So Frodo basically said, hey, I've got flyers. He brought them to our benefit show, handed me a bunch of them, which was really cool. And I thanked Brian as well, after the show and during
Absolutely.
the show. And doing double duty at a show is always super tough. And then, putting that much time and effort into promoting that show. Granted, he's on the show, but Brian is a stand-up guy, hands down, such a sweetheart of a dude,
Oh, absolutely. He is just the unsung hero of the underground metal scene.
Right.
And
I think he doesn't get enough credit for the hard work that he does in
No, he
his
doesn't.
bands. And I've seen Cold Colors, from the first time, and I'll be completely candid and honest about it. I really didn't care for Cold Colors the first couple times that I saw him. But
Yeah.
this last time that I saw him and the time before that, and there's maybe 2 years in between, they've grown so much as a band. And I think as
it's
a musician,
amazing.
yeah.
It's like night and day.
Yeah.
We're being candid. I'll be the same way. I wasn't really digging some of the stuff I heard in the beginning.
Right.
But absolutely, this last cycle with the new album is just an unbelievable metamorphosis for
Right.
that band, and a
Right.
true crowning achievement, a welcome to the next level. And
Right.
I hope he finally finds some of the success that band is long overdue for.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Anything that he's doing, because that Mordrot, his other band, is really, really good too.
I gotta be honest, I haven't heard any
dude,
of
very entombed, kind of old school. Just that thundery death metal. It's really his voice is very Martin Van Drunen from Asphyx Pestilence era. Very, very cool stuff.
Nice.
So I wanted to ask you. So I know that you have a million irons in the fire all the time. so what are we gonna be looking? What are we gonna see from you now, man? Are you gonna? You said you're staying with the Prague Fest, right? You're gonna do that one, right?
Yeah, I'm staying with Prague Power USA. And honestly, if anybody listening has never been to this festival, you need to go at least once. Ask some of the guys around town who've been there. John Liable's come a couple of times. Rob Jalonen has come a couple of times. It's an amazing, amazing festival. And wow, when you go, your mind is just going to get blown at how great the festival is, how cool the people are that attend it. PraguePowerUSA.com is where you can find it. You can also find it on Facebook. I'm going to stick around doing that. And then I've actually, and this is something that some people don't know about me, but I've actually been making movies since 2007. And I generally kind of did it about once a year. There was a festival that popped up and started coming to Minneapolis once a year called the 48-Hour Film Project. And I had found out about it from an acquaintance.
2 years 3 years have you done this?
Since 07.
Oh, okay.
So
Gotcha.
So this festival popped up, and I became involved with it, and I started doing it once a year and making a movie, and I really enjoyed it. Once a year, it was sort of my really neat creative outlet. And then all of a sudden in 2014, I just decided I really want this to be a bigger part of my life.
Right.
I want to make movies more. And honestly, that is when I had sort of toyed with the idea of getting out of promotions at that time. And 2014, I made 4 short films over the course of that year. And then in 2015, I made 4 more. And then this year I made 3.
Wow.
And so I think for a total now I've made about 18 or 19 short films.
Wow.
And I just kind of sat down. This whole year has been I won't bore everybody with all the personal details, but I've been going through a lot of changes personally. And I was thinking to myself, what do I really want to do with my spare time? If I had to concentrate on one thing, what do I really want to do? And I just decided that I'm really excited with the momentum that I've started to get from my short films. I won an award this year for one of my films.
Oh, nice, man.
And another one of the films, we got selected for a festival. We got put on a film festival, and that was super exciting. And it's been a long time coming. And I just feel like I've finally got some momentum for my filmmaking, and I want to follow it. I want to see how much how far it'll go.
Right.
And maybe it doesn't go anywhere.
Sure.
Or maybe it does. And I guess at this point, I don't want to be sitting around going, well, if I only had done this.
Sure.
And at this point, where Swordlord was at the point, and now where the movie making was, I just decided, it's time just to put one to bed, so that I don't have two things that I'm doing half-ass.
Right.
I want to do one thing, and I want to do it really, really well.
Right.
And so there's actually been a number of other things that I've been clearing off my very, very busy plate.
Sure.
But in 2017, I've got a lot of goals set up for movie making. I want to get 6 short films made. I want to have at least one festival pick.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but are you doing all the storylines behind everything? Are you doing?
No. I've got a wonderful team.
Okay.
I've got a wonderful team of artists that I work with. I've got a couple of writers that I work with. I've got a couple of cinematographers that I work with. I've got a whole host of actors
we kind of touched
and
on that on
actresses.
the first one because I asked if you owned cameras, and you said you rented a lot of cameras, and you had a group of folks that you worked with quite a while.
Yeah. Basically, when it comes to all that equipment, I mean, you can spend a small fortune,
My God, yeah.
but I mean, you can have the best equipment in the entire world, and you can have as a musician, you can have the best guitar in the whole world, and if you don't know how to play it, it doesn't do you any good.
Absolutely.
Well, the same could be said of me. I can have the greatest cinema camera in the entire world, but I'm not a cinematographer. I don't know how to shoot movies, so I'll leave that to the pro. And basically, I produce and direct,
right?
And that's an area that I feel I show strength, and I guess at this point it's just time to see where it goes, and
right.
And who knows, maybe they'll go somewhere, and if not, at the end of the day, I've got a piece of art that I'm very proud of, and
Sure.
I can point to and go, hey, yeah, we all got together and we all made this movie, and we had a super time. And honestly, I cannot tell you how much fun it is to make a movie. It is just as much fun as putting on an amazing concert where
Sure.
everybody shows up and has a great time and everybody rocks out. And I mean, it's that much fun. And
I mean, short films. I mean, what is how many scenes, give or take? How many scenes do you have in a short film, roughly?
Well, if you want to get super technical, a short film, as defined by the Academy of Motion Picture Sciences, a short film is anything under 40 minutes.
Okay.
But actually, the longest film I've ever made is only 17 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So, and actually, a film that I did last summer it runs 2.5.
Oh.
So I've made some really short films, and I've made some shorter films. I'm sort of working up to a feature length. I have some people who have asked me, well, when are you going to do a full length film? I don't think I'm ready for it yet.
Right.
That is a massive undertaking, and I think like I'm still honing my chops a little bit and in building up to it. But that's something that I would like to do at least within the next couple of years, is do a feature length, but I'm waiting for the right. Again, I'm waiting for the right story. I'm waiting for the right. Somebody comes along with a script idea and says, Nathan, I've got this idea, and I think we should shoot it together. And if I read it and get hooked on it, then I'll say, yeah, this is what I want to do. Actually, I've got. You were asking me if I did all the writing. I did sit down and I wrote my first short film, and I want to get it shot in 2017. That's one of my goals. It's sort of a pet project that I've been developing on my own, and I wrote the whole thing, and I'm really anxious to get it shot. And then there is another film that I would like to shoot that is actually a play that was written by my favorite theater professor when I was going to the University of Minnesota, who's passed away.
Okay.
And to the best of my knowledge, it's never been done as a film, so I'm not going to name it because I don't want to give anybody else a great idea.
Right.
But I would like to do an adaptation of that play to the screen. And so those are two extremely ambitious projects that I'm going to try and at least get one done next year. So the short answer is I'm going to try my hand at filmmaking and see where it goes.
Sure. Now, is there a spot that people can actually go and see your short films?
Right now, I've got a YouTube channel where more or less everything is located. And the name of my production company is We Grillin' Tonight Films, and it's all hyphenated. We Grillin' without the G Tonight Films, and it's actually, if you're an Aqua Teen Hunger Force fan, Meatwad says it at the end of the Dumber Dolls episode in season 1. Shake bursts into flames, and Meatwad says, "We're grilling tonight." And that's where I got the name of the production company. So there's that big mystery solved.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, if you type that in, and you'll probably need to hyphen it, We Grillin' Tonight Films on YouTube, all of my stuff is there. And the earlier stuff is a little raw, but getting up to the stuff that I did in 2014, 2015, and this year, 2016, I'm super proud of it. I think I've grown, my team has grown, and the stuff we've done this year especially, I'm super proud of.
Awesome, man.
And yeah, so if anybody...
The award that you received, what was that all about?
I made a film for a 48-hour film project in June, and it was called In the Garden. And it was basically about a woman at the last stage of her life with dementia, and it sort of recounts her final moments. And I entered it in a festival, and we won an award of recognition for it.
Awesome.
There were entries from all over the world, and I think we made like the top 50 or 60.
That's cool.
Which believe me, I'll take.
Well, that's a huge pool. I mean, the world. That's a big deal.
I mean, I don't know how many entries there were total, but I think there were, from what I understand, there were quite a few, and I was very happy to get it. And of course, I share it with the team that made the film, and then the mini film festival debuted this year, and that's a Minnesota festival that's put on by some local folks here in the Twin Cities, and they had approached me and asked if my team wanted to submit an entry, and so we did, and that was the 2.5-minute film that I alluded to earlier, and they had, I think it was over between 700 and 800 entries. And we made the top 60
nice.
For that as well. And we got
You're doing
screened.
something right, man.
So yeah, it's nice because it sort of all happened this year, and it sort of seemed like after 7 years or so, 7 or 8 years of making movies, now it seems like I'm starting to get it right. I'm starting to hone in on the target, and things are starting to pick up.
Right.
And that's really exciting, and I want to be able to devote all of my attention to it, and I don't want anything to suffer. I don't want, if I was still doing shows, I wouldn't want that to suffer, and if I'm doing movies, well, I don't want that to suffer either. Right. So something had to go, and the promotions was it.
Well, I think that when you're doing promotions, yes, you're putting a lot of time and effort into it. You're promoting. You're putting all this time into promoting something that's already there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A great band has already succeeded in being a great band. When you put a film together, you compile a team, you put a good group of people together, and then, as you get comfortable with each other, I could see, the cogs start moving, the machine starts to move. And when that machine is firing on all cylinders and you're doing something right and you're getting recognition for it, you're moving in from an 800 submission, contest to the upper 60. That's a pretty damn good feat, man. That's saying something that it's more focused on your talents and your team's talents, as opposed to saying, okay, I'm gonna help this band that's already succeeded in doing things, which is great to have a phenomenal show to make a couple pennies or a couple bucks off of a show that's coming to town that you worked hard for. But I could see this being a lot more fulfilling to you as an artist, as a person that that enjoys doing this type, man, you're huge into films. You love that stuff. That's that.
I
You
love
know,
movies. Always have.
just in passing and being able to come to the theater and see how you interact with the folks that are there to see the movie, you let them know that this is a great opportunity. We're all going to share this moment. This is something that we should all be able to enjoy. So don't fuck it up for anybody else. You know what I mean? That was the greatest thing ever, to sit down in a movie theater, to have the guy putting it on for everybody to enjoy, saying that to him. Hey man, be polite, be respectful, enjoy this, because we're all here to enjoy this, and have fun. You know what I mean? I could totally see it being awesome for you, man.
Thanks,
That's great.
man.
That's really cool.
No, I'm very fortunate. Again, I have a great team of people that I work with under the production moniker, and people that I've worked with now for 2, 3, 4 years, and that have acted for me, and that have DP'd and AD'd and done set grip and everything else. I'm very fortunate, and honestly, if I could share with people for 1 second how much fun it is to make a movie, everybody would go out there and try and make at least one.
Sure.
It is so much fun.
Yeah.
It is so great. So yeah, I'm excited. It's obviously it's been very difficult to have made this decision to leave promotions, but at the same time, I think some pretty cool things are ahead, and thanks for the vote of confidence.
Yeah,
seriously,
man. Absolutely. It's super cool to see someone following their passions in any facet of life. I mean, it's not like we're getting any younger. You know what I'm saying?
No,
and when you
definitely
when
not.
you feel something that you really want, I mean, that's commendable, dude. To say, all right, well, I let this run its course. I did what I could do. 14 years is a good run, man. And you didn't have as much shit as some people could accumulate. You learned from a guy who stumbled early in his career, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As far as a promoter told you what you should and shouldn't do, you it's like you already surpassed that particular part of the shit show. And I mean, we all make mistakes, and obviously I'm sure there were lots of mistakes made in the promotions aspect of it.
Oh yeah, plenty.
So to follow your aspirations to do something cool like that, something that you really, really love, it speaks volumes, because I think that a lot of people should do that in their lives, man. You sit around, you're hanging out with friends, and you there's something that, you show someone, you go, hey, I've done this before. And damn, why didn't I do that earlier? Why didn't I get involved in this earlier? And I'm sure it's probably the same thing, that if you had those 14 years to go back and not get in the promotion stuff and do the film stuff, shoulda, coulda, woulda. You've been so much further,
yeah.
but now you're here. You're doing it now. You know what I mean? You're in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And see, that's a good point. It's like you're right. We're not getting any younger, and the opportunity is here, and I just feel like this is where I need to be, and this is what I need to be doing right now.
Right.
And if I don't take advantage of the little bit of momentum that I have right now, I just don't want to look back and regret it.
Absolutely.
I'm not one of these people that sits here and says, I don't have any regrets in my life. That is, I'm sorry, I'm going to swear again. That's bullshit. Anybody that says that about their life, I don't trust them as far as you can throw them. Because honestly, when somebody says that, it basically means that they did everything right. Every decision that they made is right. Everything that they said to everybody is right. And that's just impossible.
Yeah.
There's no way. So I've tried at least as much as possible to mitigate the amount of regret that I've had in my life. And so when opportunities have come along, like they did in 2002 with Don Decker sitting right in front of me, going, I got this Blind Guardian show and I just don't know if I should do it or not. Boom. That was the opportunity. I didn't even think twice.
Yeah.
I'm like, how much do you need?
Right.
And what resulted from that conversation is the last 14 years.
Right.
And so now here I am, and it's a similar situation. I've had these couple of things happen for me and my team, and boom, here I am. And it's like, I got to take this. I got to see where it goes.
Sure.
And who knows? you never know what'll happen.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I've got to take it and see what happens.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, I know you got to get going, and I know that we've covered a lot of stuff.
We have covered a lot of ground.
But I really appreciate you coming in, man. And
thanks for having me.
Come and visit. You've got 2 movie theaters, right?
Absolutely.
And go ahead and tell them which ones you're running over there.
The Woodbury 10 in Woodbury, WoodburyTheater.com, and the St. Michael Cinema in St. Michael, Minnesota, stmichaelcinema.com. And I can usually be found at the one in Woodbury.
Yeah. And lots of good movies coming out here soon, too.
Oh, man. Rogue One.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, thanks again, man. I appreciate you coming
thank you
in.
so much.
We've got some more tunes. We've got a lot of tunes to play as he departs from us. Here we've got, let me see here. See if I can,
Pathos Ray.
Pathos Ray. Where'd you hear about these guys?
They played Prague Power actually one year, and I did not know them at all. And they're from Italy. They're fantastic. And this is off their second album. It's my favorite song by them.
Awesome. And then Mind Maze.
Mind Maze is they're a smaller band out of California, but Jeff is the guitarist and composer, and I actually met him at Prague Power. And kind of my on-air confession, I had known about the band for a long time, and I just had never gotten around to listening to them. And I finally did, and I'm like, oh, why? Okay, you want to talk about regret? I have no regrets. Yeah, I regret that I did not listen to Mind Maze sooner, because they are freaking-tastic.
Nice.
And
nice.
yeah, it would be nice to introduce them to some new fans care of this show.
Awesome. We got some Seventh Wonder.
Oh, and that is the band that Tommy, who is the new singer of Camelot, I'm going to slaughter his last name, but it starts with a K, Kirovic, I think. At any rate, this was his band before he got picked up for Camelot.
Oh, nice.
And another band that is sort of dream theater-y, Pagan's Mindy, progressive, power progressive at the same time. Again, a band that never made a bad album or a bad song is Seventh Wonder, and definitely needs to be checked out.
Awesome. And then you made reference to this band quite a bit, some Ed Guy.
Oh, some German power metal with Tobias Sammet, who is just one of the most talented men walking. And thanks to my promotions, I've had an opportunity to sit across the table from him and talk to him, and he is a friggin' genius.
Wow.
He is like the unsung genius of heavy metal. And if you doubt that, just listen to some Ed Guy, listen to some Avantasia, listen to anything else he's been a part of. He is just brilliant.
Awesome.
And this is was that Jerusalem that I've got on there? That's one of my absolute favorite songs. It's off the Mandrake album, which was 2001.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, man. I appreciate you making the time to come in. I know you're a busy fella, and I know you got a lot of projects going on and things. I know it was last week we booked it like a couple months in advance, and you're like, yeah, I'll be there. And then I'm like, oh, I can't make it. Oh, all right, we'll do it the next week. That's good.
Oh.
I do appreciate it, man.
Thanks for being patient.
Absolutely, man.
I had so much fun tonight. I truly did.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. Folks, stick around. I've got some more tunes to play, and we'll be promoting some shows and chit-chatting, just BSing, if you know what I mean. And thank you very much, man.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good night, sir.
Appreciate it.
All right. Stick around, folks. We'll be back. Yes. Hi. How are you folks doing? Thank you for tuning in. Mr. Swordlord had to take off. Has to get up early for work tomorrow. Busy man. It was very tough to lock him down because he was just so busy all the time and got so much going on. Very, very cool to have Nathan come in here and do a podcast with me again. Episode 46. You're listening to what is the Swordlord Returns podcast. Do me a favor. Go to ritualmadnesspodcast.com. Click on the right side. There's a multitude of links. iTunes and Stitcher, both applications for your cellular device. Social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. YouTube. Sorry, I'm just trying to swallow the spit that I have in my mouth. You love to hear that, right? Yes, you do. All right. Download the Listen to My Radio app to connect with our radio station here. That's LISTEN, the number 2, My Radio. In the search bar, you can put in Ritual Madness Podcast, and that will get you to our station, and we play all kinds of good stuff. All this good sword metal that Mr. Swordlord brought in for us to listen to. All kinds of gangster rap, all kinds of heavy death metal, and all kinds of comedy and different stuff here. So make sure you go and do that. Also, if you shop Amazon, there's an Amazon link on the right side there. Click that Amazon link, bookmark it as your own. Every time you buy something off of Amazon, it helps us keep the podcast going here. Below there's another donation link. If you want to donate to the podcast, please do. It'll help us keep the lights on. I should have never had a bite of a cookie right before I go on the air because I am filled with saliva right now, and I'm sure that is gross and don't want to hear about it. But also, if you're in a band or have friends that are in bands, please submit your stuff to ritualmadnesspodcast@gmail.com. That's ritualmadnesspodcast@gmail.com. Also, please check my friend's podcast out from the Twin Cities here. Very great podcast, dotwpod.com. That's the Disciples of the Watch podcast, dotwpod.com. Man, have a bite of a cookie and all of a sudden it makes you retarded as well. Mentally handicapped. All right. Also, the Root of All Evil radio show has been around since the mid-'80s. Earl Root started the show, and some good folks have decided have taken it over since his passing and keeping this thing going. So please, KFAI's Fresh Air Radio, the Root of All Evil, Sunday evenings, or Sunday morning, I guess I would say, Saturday evenings, Sunday morning, 1 a.m. till 6 a.m. Sunday. They play all kinds of good metal, all kinds of good stuff. They have lots of live bands that'll play on there as well, right on the radio. It's awesome, good stuff. Also, Monthly Madness at Lee's Liquor Lounge. We do a monthly metal show. We've been doing it since May. We're in December now. The weekend of my birthday, next weekend. So come and help me celebrate being an old bastard. December 17th at Lee's Liquor Lounge. 21 plus show. It's $7 to get in. $2 Jack and Cokes, $3 PBR, Tall Boys, $300 in tattoo giveaways from Lowbrow Saints Tattoo Collective. And I just want to say thank you to those guys so many times over and over and over. Also with Capital Guitars, they've been very cool. And Billy and those guys down there have really, I'm sorry, I just keep swallowing here. I got a stuffed nose and my mouth is running. That's kind of crazy. But anyways, I wanted to thank those guys from Capital Guitars for backlining a lot of these shows and being very cool and helping out the NYDM 5-state regional chapter with all the shows and benefits and things like that they backline for us. It's so cool of them, and they do not have to do that stuff for us, but they are very cool. And you know what? Billy had some guitar picks made with the Ritual Madness Podcast logo on there, and the Capital Guitars logo on the other side. They're very cool. I got multiple colors. If anybody's interested in any of those, please get a hold of me. I'll send you some or give you some. Meet you at a show or do something like that and give you some. They're really cool. December 17th. Back to the original plan here. Lee's Liquor Lounge, Glutton for Punishment, Face of Oblivion, Invidiosis, Towering Abomination, and Mutation. It's going to be a great show. Brutal birthday to celebrate my 44th birthday. We've got a bunch of other shows. Tomorrow night, December 10th, at the NYDM 5-state regional chapter presents the 4th annual Toys for Tots at Club Underground. I don't know if I said that the last time I said it, but anyways, featuring Murder in the House of God, Tempestuous, Bray Road, Ghost Hook, and Moloch. And that is tomorrow night, 21 plus, 7 p.m. Is the doors. I think probably 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, I think, is the beginning of the show. It doesn't say on the flyer here, but $7. Please come out. It's going to be a great time, and it's for a great cause, helping the less fortunate children in the world here. So we're going to do some Toys for Tots tomorrow, something that the club does every year so far for 4 years. Going to be a great show. Got some other shows coming up here as well. December 11th, Amnesis, Witch Den, Antiverse, and Videosis at the Triple Rock, December 11th. That's a Sunday. And let me see here. What else do we got? Show me some more details here, guys. show me some more details. Anyways, it's on December 11th, 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. That's December 11th. That's Sunday, as a matter of fact. Go down to the Triple Rock. Check that show. It's going to be a good one. Also, on the 12th at Memory Lanes, Tori Nelson is a guy who plays in King Goro, I believe, is his band. Very cool guy. Loves to have a few drinks and hang out with the fellas, and super cool cat. He's got some sort of a degenerative eye issue going on, and they're doing a benefit for him with the Pterodactyls, and I believe the Pterodactyls are a defunct band, but they're getting back together to do this. Lochnar, Plagued Insanity, and Getting Stabbed. What a great name. Memory Lanes, 2520 26th Avenue South, Minneapolis, Monday, December 12th, 10 p.m., free show, 21 plus. It's going to be a good thing, and it's a benefit for Tori Nelson and his bad eyes. Also, Head PE is in town tomorrow. They're playing in Rochester, Minnesota at the Wicked Moose. St. Cloud on Monday at the, on Sunday they're at in St. Cloud, Minnesota at the Red Carpet. They're in Duluth on the 12th at the Red Herring Lounge. They're in Moorhead, Minnesota at the Garage Bar, in Moorhead, Minnesota. Check those out. That's a Leo Presents. You can buy tickets at www.leopresents.com, and check out all the shows that Leo Presents has coming up. They've got some great shows coming up. Also, Wednesday, December 14th, at the Caboose, 917 Cedar Avenue, Minneapolis, Minnesota. We got Human Form. Let me see here. What is it? Something about the skull. The head of Goliath. I'm sorry, guys. It's really hard to see on this flyer. The Head of Goliath. My Epic. Norma Jean, and for today, that's Wednesday, December 14th at the Caboose. Let me see here. 5 p.m. start, $20 at the door, 15 plus show. It's going to be a good one. Make sure you guys show up for that one as well. I'm going to run maybe one or two more. Local H and Helmet at the Fine Line Music Cafe, December 14th. Tickets are available. That is Wednesday, December 14th, with Local H and Helmet at the Fine Line. Go check that out if you can. I'm going to come back and do some more of these shows that are coming up here. Got some more tunes that Mr. Swordlord brought in here. We've got some Evergrey, some Stradivarius, Sunburst, and Royal Hunt. We're going to listen to some of these tunes. Stick around, folks. We'll be... Yeah. Look at that. We'll listen to some sword metal from the Swordlord himself. Running around. He's out in the cold. Got to get up early in the morning, trying to get back to his place. I know that. So thank you all for tuning in tonight. It was very nice, short and sweet. Very, very good interview with Nate and Sean Jensen, local hero here in the Twin Cities, joined us for a little while as well. I was going through some shows. I've got a couple more I'd like to go through before I play the last song for this podcast and close out the night. Let me see here. Friday, December 16th, 7 p.m., $5 at the door at Opinion Brewery. That is 374 21st Street, Newport, Minnesota. Royals, Common Chore, Mirror of Being, and Druid. Again, that's Friday, December 16th. 7 p.m., $5 at the door. It's a birthday toy drive bash. Bring a small toy or 4 cans of food to get a wristband for a free beer. That's right. They're giving away a free beer if you bring some food, 4 cans of food, or a small toy, which is awesome. All profits will be donated to Friends in Need and a food shelf. Friends in Need food shelf. I'm sorry. I am... tired. It's been a long day, so hopefully you guys are still tuning in as well. I've talked about this one a couple times. It is the birthday bash, the Brutal Birthday Bash. It is the monthly Ritual Madness podcast metal show at Lee's Liquor Lounge. Let me see here. It is Glutton for Punishment, Face of Oblivion, Invidiosis, Towering Abomination, and Mutation. That is December 17th, $7 at the door. 8 p.m. doors, 9 p.m. start. $2 PBR tall boys. $2 Jack and Cokes, $3 PBR tall boys. And I'm hoping that PBR shows up again like they did the last time, and they gave me a bunch of swag to T-shirts and hats and things like that to raffle off in between the bands, which is really nice. It was super cool. And $300 in tattoo gift cards. And I believe that this is going to be the last one. I'm not positive, but I think that we agreed to go till the end of the year. And it is now the end of the year. December 17th, Lee's Liquor Lounge. Come check it out. It's going to be my 44th birthday, so come rock out with me. Also, December 18th, Sunless, Mordrot, Pestifear, Triple Rock, Half Room. That's December 18th. And that goes from 8 p.m. till 12. That is going to be a Sunday. That's at the Triple Rock, 629 Cedar Avenue South, Minneapolis, 55454. Go check that out. It's going to be a good one. And there's a bunch of other stuff that it's going to be in town. I really wanted to say thank you to Jordan Swanson again for putting, actually, Cassie Hasseldahl and all the folks that were involved, Nuisance, the band Nuisance, and Among the Serpents, Tempestuous, Glutton for Punishment, all these bands that came together for my family to do a benefit for us at Opinion Brewery. Joe Spanbauer, for giving up the room and the time for mixing and doing all the things. There were people that I hadn't seen in 20-something years that showed up out of the blue to come and support my family. Half of these people never even met my daughter or my wife, so it's just crazy for everybody to show up and give so much love and support. And we raised quite a bit of money, which was so nice. And it helped us get back on track. We're not 100% on track. We had a lot of bills from the crash that we had. And I just wanted to say thank you very much for everybody showing up and coming out and donating time, and my mother for doing the bake sale. And it's really funny when you have friends that are like to get the munchies, if you get what I mean, and have a bake sale made by your mom. So that's really cool. And so I've got a couple more. Or I've got one more song, Within Temptation. Silver Moonlight, or Moon Night. Is that what it says? No, Moonlight. I'm sorry. Yes. The last song in the podcast, 146 with Mr. Swordlord. It is late. We are out of here. Nate and Mr. Jensen left about an hour ago. So I am going to let you guys get your rest, and hopefully if you're listening to the replay of this, thank you for taking the time to either download it or replay it. Very cool of you to tune in as well this evening. 146 with Mr. Swordlord. Do me a favor, check out ritualmanispodcast.com. On the right side, you'll be able to connect with us on iTunes and Stitcher, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Download the Listen to My Radio app on your application store, LISTEN, the number 2, My Radio, and put in Ritual Madness Podcast in the search bar. Bookmark that shit. You'll be able to listen to the station. And we got a lot of cool music on here, always playing 365, 24/7 up in this motherfucker. If you shop Amazon at ritualmanispodcast.com, there is a Amazon link. Please go click that Amazon link and bookmark it. Jesus, I got the mumblies stumblies today. Bookmark it as your own Amazon link. Every time you buy something from that Amazon link, it kicks us back a couple pennies at no cost to you. And we appreciate all the help that you have given us throughout the years, and appreciate everybody using that Amazon link. Below that is a little donation button. If you're feeling generous, please donate to the podcast. It'll keep the lights on, keep the cables and microphones and the headphones working, and keeping the guests come in and having beers with me and BS. And it's so much fun. Also, if you're in a band, have friends that are in a band, please submit your music to ritualmadnesspodcast@gmail.com, ritualmadnesspodcast@gmail.com. Or if you want to send me a note, please do. Give me a hard time. I don't care. I like to see people interacting with me. And if you want to get some Ritual Madness podcast picks just for your collection or whatever, I got a really cool pick with my little microphone guy and the guitar, Capital Guitars on the other side. Very cool picks, a bunch of different colors, and I want to thank Capital Guitars, Lowbrow Saints Tattoo Collective, and everything. Mr. Swordlord, thank you for coming in again. I had a blast. I love to hang out with Nate. He's a good guy. Hopefully everybody supports his endeavors. He's got a lot going on, and I know he's got some short film stuff out there. Please go help him out if you can. Go to Woodbury Theater over in Woodbury, Minnesota. He's got another one in St. Michael. So go see a movie. Take your lady to a movie. Eat some popcorn. We're going to do Within Temptation, and we're out. 146 in the books. Thanks, folks. Peace out.